The View. The View has something to say about this, and I want to go over it very quickly. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel. Let's rock.
The new administration's campaign promised to gut federal agencies, help put them back in the White House. But now they seem to be facing a backlash. And in and out of D.C., the new White House appointees like Kash Patel and
Shout out
Tulsi
to Yolanda. I
Gabbard
appreciate
told
you on
federal
Cash App.
workers to ignore Elon Musk's demand that employees list what they did at work last week. Like, this is what they need to be doing, because he's curious. And a growing number of voters in Republican districts, which is where the noise needs to be made, are telling their local leaders that this is not what they signed up for. Take a look.
Why is a supposedly conservative party taking such a radical and extremist and sloppy approach to this? You have to.
So I've seen this video, and let me add context to this. Even though the entire district is red and Republican, the people that showed up at the meeting, especially for a growing base over in Georgia of younger families that tend to be more liberal and Democrats in their views, were the ones that were asking these questions and applauding and trying to hold him accountable for the things that Trump was doing in office, as far as who their congressperson was and or their representative, Rich McCormick, over in that district in Georgia. As a matter of fact, the meeting was in Roswell, and Roswell was largely considered to be a red area or a red city in itself, but there is a growing group of people that tend to be more liberal, which made it seem like, and I almost believe that a lot of these things are staged, honestly, which made it seem like, oh, this is a Republican-led district and the people are getting mad. No, they are not Republicans. No, they're not conservatives. These are liberals at this meeting that did vote liberally inside of the last election that is asking a Republican representative questions. So it's all a farce. It's all a facade. It's all a thing. And this is one of the reasons why I think that The View is going to be next right after Joy.
Do more with less in order to survive.
Elon Musk is there. He will be able to raise questions, and because of
let's get to the lunch, ladies.
Voters be listening to their constituents, or are they going to fall into line with the White House? Because it seems to me many of them may not have jobs in a year.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is the find out period, right? I think of a lot of the people that voted for this new administration, and they certainly didn't vote for Elon Musk. And so what I do want to point out is that Elon Musk is allegedly responsible for the DOGE, which is the Department of DOGE. It's the Department of Government Efficiency. And it was started to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, right? Now, let's talk about waste. We're still waiting for Elon's group, even though the White House now says he's not in charge of the group, to identify real government waste, because they...
Did I not just point it out on the DOGE website? Here, let me pull it back up for you guys, just in case you haven't seen it. Okay, so this is the Department of Government Efficiency. All right, he goes through and he breaks down exactly what is going on. 4 redundant survey tools ranging 10 UiPath licenses, 10,000 UiPath licenses. Only 5,000 is using 20,000 Tableau licenses. Only 11,000 employees. All of this stuff. So all of this site, you can literally go to DOGE's website. Not today's contract updates. 95 cancellations with savings of $115 million, ceiling value of $235 million, including 2 USDA contracts, $265,000 for food nutrition service 3-day leadership retreat in Atlanta. They're using your government dollars and your taxpayer dollars for a food and nutrition service 3-day leadership retreat in Atlanta. $30,000 for a Malaysia study tour facilitation services. They're actually showing you the proof. They're putting it up there for you to see. I don't know what's so difficult. The USGSA sold the old Webster School building in D.C. for $4 million. 4.1. The building was acquired via condemnation in 2003, remained empty and boarded up ever since, and accrued $24 million in deferred maintenance and liabilities. $324,000 grant for increasing DEIA programming for integrated pest management. Am I missing something? Is the lunch ladies and I on a different page? Are we looking at something different? Or can you literally go over here and see the screenshot, see exactly what they found, and see why it's necessary for them to go through and audit every single department of the federal government? But Sonny Holston will sit here and tell you on national TV, that this department that was created to root out fraud, waste, and abuse is not doing its job, and we're only 1 month into Trump's presidency. You ain't even got to Google it. You can just go straight there and it'll show you. Crazy.
Claim even this, right? Now, let's talk about waste. We're still waiting for Elon's group, even though the White House now says he's not in charge of the group, to identify real government waste, because they claimed that they saved $55 billion. Well, that is false. The itemized data shows it's far less. And in fact, a post-analysis found that hundreds of these canceled contracts that they listed as representing savings, there were savings of $0. So that's the first thing.
The numbers were way off.
And the numbers were way off.
How come they don't list their contracts?
That's my second point.
Oh,
fraud. Now, Musk's own companies have been promised or awarded nearly $21 billion by the U.S. government since 2008. Now, the cash is still flowing to Elon Musk, with another $76.7 million promised since Trump's inauguration. Yet DOGE is firing those federal employees that have oversight over his own contracts. So where is the fraud? Is it in the government or is it in DOGE?
You know, I think
can I say one last thing? In terms of abuse, they are abusing federal workers. They are abusing federal workers. I was a federal worker. And I think they're abusing them because they're blinded by Elon Musk's greed. I was a federal worker. Now, how am I supposed to respond to Elon's request that I list 5 things when I've been in front of the grand jury, when I've met with witnesses that are in WITSEC programs in Oregon, and am I supposed to identify people and put their lives at risk?
So you can't read between the lines. First of all, what she's saying about Elon's government contract, she didn't add context, but we'll get to that. So you're telling me that you are so disconnected you can't understand that you don't have to put everybody's social security numbers or exactly the names of the people that you met, but you can just, in a summary, 5 bullet points, hey, I worked on this, I worked on that, I had to go and do this, I had to go and do that, I had to go and do that. Are you telling me that you're that situationally unaware? Christ. I can't imagine being married to these women. Could you imagine being in a relationship with these women? Could you imagine sitting at the dinner table with these women night in and night out? It would just be absolutely, positively. Is this what y'all dealing with out here in the streets? Oh,
reduce their job to 5 bullet points.
Well, you know, I think that instead of whether we should call it DOGE or we should call it DOGE, because they are dodging logic, they're dodging oversight, they're dodging legality, they're dodging the Constitution, and they're certainly dodging any sort of empathy or compassion for your fellow Americans. I think what people are beginning to find out, and I've sensed a shift. It's been a little bit over a month now. I know it feels a lot longer than that. But I have sensed a shift in the last week because I think, you know, people are hearing about all the pain, all the suffering, all the distress, all the fear. They're hearing about the little 11-year-old girl committing suicide because she was bullied because her parents were undocumented immigrants. They are hearing about the fired fire rangers and park rangers. They're hearing about the firing of C.Q. Brown, a general who was the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the woman who was heading the Navy, Lisa Franchetti. 40 years, each of them, in their careers. They are hearing about all of this chaos. And last week, on Friday, the Dow went down over 700 points.
Me neither, Janice.
Trump, we are now seeing that his numbers have suddenly shifted. He's 5 points down in net approval rating on CNN, 6 points down in Gallup, 7 points down in Ipsos, 4 points down in Quinnipiac. And it is because this is enough. I am so happy to see Americans protesting, showing up, calling their congresspeople. 202-224-3121. That is the congressional.
One thing I want to say is whenever they're talking about this haphazard chainsawing to the federal agencies, we talk about the fact that Trump was elected for the idea, one of the ideas was cutting this waste. But the voters didn't say how, the scope and the pace at which it would happen.
And real waste.
Because right now, the adequate way to do this would be to give it a few months, learn these agencies, because you cannot identify the problem until you know the entire operation. And that's not what we're seeing here, which is why we're seeing this drop in not only ratings, but the pushback on the Republican congresspeople. They're in these town halls, and what they need to be reminded of is Donald Trump didn't elect them to office. The voters in those rooms elected them to office. And in 2 years, when the midterms come up, they're going to notice, because right now we've seen like Jesse Waters and Fox say, oh, well, we wanted the waste cut, but not the veterans. And then like Zachary Levi said something like, some of these people voted for you. He's a president for everyone. And when you criticize what's happening here, you have to recognize that you have people that are taking orders from Elon Musk, who wasn't elected, but then their own administrative heads, like
Kash Patel.
And Tulsi Gabbard are saying, no, don't reply to the email. But there's an email. But how does anyone operate?
And Kash Patel are making sense.
And Jesse Waters, the point here is,
you gotta
who's in charge? Because if I have a bunch of bosses, if one boss says, email me back, and the other one says, just disregard that, I wouldn't know which way to jump.
I think what we also need to...
Listen. Nobody wants to actually just have common sense and address the elephant in the room. I see this on a regular basis from people that are intentionally confused, or they want to be confused, or they want to act like they don't understand what's happening. Here's the truth. You know what you're doing, and if you are a slouch on the job. When Trump has to clarify and say, hey, listen, we're doing a pulse check to find out, because there has been no accountability in our federal government for a long time. We're doing a pulse check to find out exactly what is going on, who is there, who's not there, and ultimately whether or not people are actually even at work at all. I don't think that that's unreasonable. People are so coddled, and I have never, ever, ever seen them acknowledge the fact that they are rooting out the waste and abuse and all of the stuff that was happening in the places that they were sending all of our taxpayer dollars. I want it all. Listen, I told y'all a long time ago. Do you remember when I had a conversation with y'all and they said, Anton, if you was to ever become mayor or governor or anything like that, what would you do? Before Trump even became president, this was probably towards the middle of last year, and they said, Anton, what would you do if you became president? I said, I would cut everybody. What would you do if you become mayor? Everybody getting cut. We going down to the basic essential services. Everybody going to have to find another job. Let me see if I can find that.
To think about here is that people are really going to feel these changes in their own pockets. Like your grandmother's Social Security, that's you're going to be harmed. That tax refund check that you rely upon,
I'm not going to be able
just
to
fired
find
6,000 IRS workers. You think you're
that.
going to get your tax refund on time?
Well,
Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security,
but
everything.
none of these things have lowered the price of eggs 1 cent.
Not 1 cent. Not 1 cent.
Well, if you think back, this is what I told you was going to happen. I told you people were going to sit, wait and see what they wanted to fight and how they wanted to fight.
Nothing is going to be more satisfying when I see the lunch ladies from The View. Even more than Joy Reid. Even more than Joy Reid, nothing is going to be more satisfying than when we see the lunch ladies from The View take a nosedive. Absolutely. I cannot wait. I can't wait. It is going to be watch. I predicted Joy. I'm going to predict The View. I'm going to predict The View. The daytime television talk show, The View. Nothing is going to be more satisfying than seeing these liberal ladies take a nosedive, and eventually they say, you know what, we can't have that show, or we need to, you know, reduce head count, or we only gonna take it down to 2 hosts, or we gonna replace these women on here or something. Nothing is gonna be more glorious.